Hello there, my beautiful Aries signs. It's Rachel with Dark Knight Coaching. Today's video is a traditional Celtic cross spread that I pull with the tarot. And then after the tarot, I pull a bunch of oracle cards, a bunch of other divination cards. There's like moon cards, third eye intuition cards, chakra cards, a lot of archetype cards, a medley of things. So if this message does resonate as I go along, please smash that like button. It helps my channel grow. It makes me know that it's something in here was relevant to you, which is helpful to me. But there's a lot of stuff happening for you right now, Aries. This is a pivotal point in your life path, in your journey. There's a lot of things that are crumbling down, and there's a lot of things that are breaking down in order to start new, to start fresh, to start over. You are being tested at this time. This whole tarot reading generally looks like it's about love to me, because when I am guided to meditate on your energy before I get on camera, I usually listen to music, and that song was Tattoo by Lorene, I think is her name. Is that right? Yeah, Lorene. It's a great song. There's a lot of sadness in the lyrics, but it's also a very, I don't know, you can just feel I can at least just feel the pain and the sorrow in the words and the music and the melody and the harmonies, all of it. So make sure you check that out, because I do feel like a lot of you are going through some devastating heartbreak at this time. Your first card I had for you was the Four of Pentacles. This is a card about like saving financially typically, but it might be like holding yourself back. So that's kind of your current situation that you're dealing with. Maybe you're holding back when it comes to something, or you're trying to set some really firm boundaries right now, because you have the challenge here is the Three of Swords that came out first, and the Queen of Cups was the clarifier. With the Three of Swords, this is a card of heartbreak. There's like no way around it. It's pretty plain and simple. Not that heartbreak is simple, but in the reading, it's very clear. That's what it's about. And, with the Queen of Cups clarifying here, it's like you were this Queen of Cups. Maybe you didn't have enough boundaries. Maybe you got stepped on or taken advantage of. And now it's like somebody pushed you past your limit, and you're not going back in that direction again because of the Four of Pentacles being here. It's like you're holding back. You're not giving your all anymore because it didn't really work out how you had anticipated. Now, your basis of the situation is the Two of Wands. This is a card of planning. It's also a card of choices. It's a card of opportunity. It's like a portal where you have this fork in the road and you can decide which path to take. And I do see that you are very clearly choosing to stand up for yourself, which is a great thing to do when it comes to personal boundaries and expectations when it comes to love. Now, in your past, you have the Tower card. This is a huge monumental shift, because it's like anything that was built on sand is crumbling. And whatever didn't have a solid foundation before, Aries, is definitely getting wiped away intentionally. Sometimes that's rough to hear, but when things aren't helping us align to our highest best path or our highest best timeline, then Spirit or the universe or God or whoever you want to believe in kind of moves those things out of our way. And sometimes it's a harsh, bittersweet gift, but sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift. Sometimes it just feels like a slap in the face. So, take that as it resonates, Aries. But your present mode is like Spirit is trying to guide you into this Temperance vibe, which is a Sagittarius card. I'm a Sagittarius, and I personally hate this card. It's about like slow and steady wins the race. It's about patience. And I'm not a patient sign. I'm just not. Aries, you're pretty patient generally, but the clarifier here was the Four of Cups. So it's like you're not happy when it comes to love. You're not happy with how things worked out. You're not happy. There's no closure. There's no I don't feel like you got much of anything for all of the fruits of your labor, basically. When you're in this Queen of Cups energy, it's a very feminine leaning energy. So it's like you were in your feminine. Maybe you were a trad wife. Maybe you were really wearing all the hats in your relationship, and it was just never reciprocated. And then finally you just, you're just at this point where it's like something's got to give. And if nothing does give, then you're walking away, Aries, because you have the Eight of Cups here in your near future. So the potential here is to walk away. And, sometimes that's what we have to do when we are stuck between a rock and a hard place. There's no other option. Maybe you feel like you've exhausted every option out there. And I feel like you were waiting for somebody to change, because in your power and your control, you were this Three of Wands energy, and then the devil came flying out as a clarifier for that, which I didn't ask for a clarifier. It just came out. So I take, what they send me. But the Three of Wands is a portal energy of waiting and waiting for your ships to come in, waiting for things to get better, waiting for the grass to be greener, waiting for like something to take hold. But with the devil clarifying that, it's like, it was to your detriment. It was almost like, trying to spin straw into gold. Like, it was never really going to happen, but it sounded nice in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, you had hope. You were told maybe that things were going to get better eventually and things were going to move forward eventually, Aries. But like, when push came to shove, no dice, baby doll. Sorry. All right, I see 555 on the clock again. I saw that earlier. So 555 is a signifier of change. 555 is basically like the numerology for the Tower card. It's breaking down old things. It's changing. It can be chaotic and conflicting, but it's also cleansing. It's a clearing card, and that's what you have as well. Now, how does this affect people around you, or how are people seeing you? They're seeing you stand up for yourself. They're seeing you stand up for your beliefs, your values, your inner knowing, that sort of like good vibe energy. That's what the Seven of Wands is about. So this is a very like determined card, which is that's to me a great thing, because it's like you're not settling for less anymore. Now, in your hopes and fears, you have the High Priestess. This is like, you hope you're making the right decision, but your inner gnosis does know it, and the sun is coming out. So I take that as an omen, okay? This is like, you know what you're doing, Aries. You know why you're doing it. And as long as you have pure and loving intention in your choices, in your decisions, and you're leading from not only heart space, but, a tinge of head space too. Like, you want to be logical and reasonable, but the High Priestess is all about like tapping into your divine energy, and it's knowing what you're putting up with when it comes to love and what your expectations are. Now, the outcome overall for this situation, Aries, was the Five of Wands. Not a great card for the outcome. Not a terrible card, just a card of conflict. Now, with any change, there is conflict. Gosh, I'm getting blinded. There is conflict, but when you walk away from somebody or someone, that's generally when you're going to see their true colors. So prepare yourself as best as you can for backlash. I don't know how else to put that. Like, really, that's what it is, because, yeah, confirmation from the sun. It's really not funny, because it's unfortunate, really. But I do feel like you're going to be challenged to keep cool and keep a calm. Sorry, let me move out. There we go. But it's, you need to be responsive, not reactive, because sometimes people, when you're going through a breakup, if they're not happy, they don't want you to leave, even though they don't want you to stay, they just don't want you to be with someone else. It can bring out the worst in someone. So make sure you're just aware that that's not a reflection of you, Aries. That's a reflection of them. I feel like I should move that. It was not so cloudy. There we go. It was not so sunny. That's what I meant to say. Okay. Now, the last card I have for you when it comes to tarot is the Ace of Wands. This is kind of your subconscious energy, like what's behind all this, what is driving all this, what's going to come of all of this. The Ace of Wands is a card of creativity. It's a card of passion and fire and spark. So it's like, even though you're leaving something behind, an old lifestyle, an old habit, an old partner, a relationship, maybe just a whole life chapter really that you're ending, it's going to bring a freshness, a newness that, can sometimes be conflicting feeling. It can sometimes feel scary to go through change or adapting to an environment that you didn't anticipate maybe, or have a 5-year plan for. But, I've never met a person who's like, this is my 5-year plan and I'm sticking to it and it happened just exactly like they planned it. Never met that person. If you're one of those people and you're just know what's going to happen in 5 years, leave a comment and let me know how you do that. But, you kind of have to go with the flow of life, and you have to have this patience and this balance and this harmony, especially when it comes to love and knowing what you're going to put up with and not jumping into something new right off the bat. Because sometimes this like devil energy can be like, you're waiting for somebody to, light that fire for you, and that doesn't work. When you feel overly attracted to someone or really drawn to them, and there's like a whole lot of chemistry and you have like butterflies, those are red flags. Those are usually your body signals telling you something's off. because that's kind of how trauma works. Like, we are generally attracted to our people who are like our caregivers until we can heal a lot of our traumas, our childhood wounds that we all generally experience and go through. So just keep that in mind, Aries. Now, that was it for tarot. If you like this video, please smash that like button. It helps my channel grow. I am going to do an extended reading for this, which you can, I'll put a link in the description box below if you're interested in purchasing that. I'm just going to dive a little bit further into this loving energy. I have another love deck that I'll pull some cards from, and I'll pull a couple more clarifier cards from my tarot deck, a different tarot deck too, just to get some more guidance about this from spirit. So if you're interested in that, please click the link. If you would like a personalized tarot reading where I dive into your energy specifically, there's a link in my main page, and you can schedule to book that. But really, if you just like this video and subscribe, that would be cool too. Just helps my channel grow. Doesn't cost a thing. I don't like to plug things, but it's the way of the world these days, in a way. So I am here to be a guide and a semi-guru for you on your spiritual journey. And a lot of us are going through an enlightenment period, which is just part of transitioning from 3D into 5D consciousness. So it's been quite a whirlwind for me for the last couple years. So I assume everybody is going through something eerily similar, and we don't even know it. Wow. Okay. All right. Let's dive into the oracle cards. Now, interestingly enough, when you have this Eight of Cups energy, you have the Pilgrim. There might be a pilgrimage you're going on, maybe some sort of retreat, some sort of silent retreat, meditative retreat, something maybe even to do with spiritual retreats or something like along those lines that you're considering or wanting to do. So that's just a synchronicity or confirmation maybe you needed to hear to go ahead and book it. Now, I took my own pilgrimage, which I think is kind of like a rite of passage for those going on an enlightenment journey, to go, find yourself somewhere else and pick up good vibes wherever you're going, for basically it's like an aura or an energetic enema. Like sometimes where, depending on where you go or what you do, you're just like cleansing your whole energetic body. And I know that's a very crass way of putting it, but that's the best way I can explain it. So my energetic enema was then in Arizona, and that was just a very cool experience. And I go to a Reiki lady, and before I left and after I left, she was just like, wow, it's like just like totally feels different. I can't feel what she feels exactly, but I could feel that there was definitely a huge difference in my energy and in my chakras, and they were all aligned at the end of my trip, at the end of my journey. And they were all open and like flowing the correct way. So it was a huge, significant part of my life that was like my pilgrimage that I felt guided to go on. So make sure you're paying attention to like synchronicities. If you hear like destinations and songs very frequently, that's kind of like Spirit's little subliminal way to get you to look into something or go on a path or something like that. Now, you also have by the book, I'm not sure why, but I'm drawn to this desert landscape. So some of you might be going to like Africa or, I don't know, the Sahara, like something very dry and a little bit barren for your journey. Egypt, maybe, if you're real bougie, I suppose. But by the book is usually a card of like doing things in a proper order. So, if you're leaving a relationship, if you're trying to leave a marriage, and you're waiting for somebody else to rip off the Band-Aid, I don't think that's going to work very well for you in the long term. And also, like, don't jump into something as a means to get over someone else, because it's usually just a mask for pain, and it's kind of a destructive and a distracting escapist behavior. So just be cautious of that when it comes to hopping from one relationship to another, because sometimes we're drawn to people who have similar traumas as we do, and that's just called trauma bonding, which creates a codependent cycle, which is not healthy. It's toxic. It's really what it is. But it happens a lot. I've played victim to that myself. So the next card I have is My Future is Full of Light. I love the image on this card. I don't know why I feel guided to show you that, but I do love that. The moon, lunar cycles might be important at this time. You did have the full moon and Gemini card. This says the answers you need are coming. So there is clarity coming for you. If you've been asking questions to your guides, to spirit, to, you know, whoever, the wind, there's going to be some clarity coming for you. Now you also have the Flower of Life card. This is a lovely card because, well, for a lot of reasons. I could get into like the geometric symmetry and like the mathematics of this card, but I'm not going to go there because it'll take too long. But this one says, connect to the energetic world of our soul where compassion and unconditional love reside. So the Tree of Life, the Flower of Life, give those things a Google. I really like to dive into like the Kabbalah and go into that sort of theological, I don't know how to describe that. The Kabbalah has a lot of interesting stuff that's tied to the Flower of Life, the Tree of Life, those sorts of things, which are in turn tied to our chakras and a bunch of other things. But it's also in a lot of Jewish traditions, you find lots of mystical forms of divination, which is exactly what tarot is. So tarot is derived from the Torah, and the Torah is the Hebrew Bible, but it's the first 5 books of the regular like Christian Bible, I guess you could say. So that's just a fun random fact for you. But this tarot reading is actually very religious, which is ironic because most religious people are very afraid of tarot, which is to me like the funniest thing in the world. Anyways, the next card I have is about your third eye intuition. It says, harness, use your mind's eye to solve a problem and ask your inner self for direction. Look at the problem from different angles to see if your intuition can guide you. But I do feel like for the most part, Aries, you've already done this. I feel like you've already tried to see a perspective from many, many angles. Maybe you were just waiting for somebody to like pick up where you left off and nobody did. So, you know, use discernment there. Not the whole message may not resonate with you. So, and that's fine. And energy is also fluid. So if this doesn't feel like it resonated for you, it might just be somebody in your energetic field needs to hear that. Now, the next card I have is forgiveness. You are now able to activate the power of love in order to release past hurts. And maybe you have to forgive yourself for walking away. Maybe you have to forgive yourself for ever falling in love with someone who couldn't maybe love you in the right way. But it's also because like you couldn't love yourself in the right way and you didn't really know how until you knew what you didn't want. And sometimes that's not fair. It's not fair to you and it's not fair to them. But it is part of like the growing process and the healing process. And a lot of times when we meet these soulmates and we have these connections or marriages or relationships or even friendships, whatever, any sort of connection, really, a lot of the times it's based on karmic cycles. So it's like a past life issue 9 times out of 10, or just some sort of lesson you had to learn that helps push you in the right direction for your soul's growth. Now you also have the Vanity card. This is tied to your throat chakra. This is all about speaking your truth, being authentic. The Vanity card is also a lovely card from Spirit to tell us, like, even though you're learning your lessons and you're seeing the role you played and you're seeing it from different angles and perspectives, some people are not ready to hear that. So like, if you go blabbing out around to the world like you've got a trauma bond, you're codependent, you're anxious attached, you know, that person's a narcissist, you got to leave them. People are not generally receptive to that, unfortunately. But most people are closed-minded. So when people say things like that, it can kind of come off as vain or like chauvinistic or almost like a superiority complex, even though that's probably not at all your intention, Aries. It just can be off-putting to some. So just be cautious of that. Sometimes it's better to just say nothing and just observe, which can be difficult, especially for loved ones or, you know, people that you really care about. You don't want them to be stuck in a cycle, but you also have to realize everyone's on their own path, their own journey. You cannot tell anybody who they should love or who they shouldn't love. That's not your job. Your job is to be supportive. You know, you don't have to like go crazy with that. Like, don't support something that's obviously very harmful to someone, but also make it clear like you're not going to just sit around. And sometimes that means you have to walk away and set those proper boundaries. So think of that. But you also have the Army, which is, to me, is like, this is like a card of like your spirit tribe in a way. So it says, just because something isn't the goal doesn't make it the enemy. Balance the focused and intense drive to get it done with a measured, disciplined and approach. This will allow you to achieve your objective effectively with less collateral damage. Good fortune without mistake. What are you aiming for, and how can you get more from your strengths? And with all your efforts, are you creating the life that you want? So this is tied to the foundation, your tribe, your soul tribe, but it's also tied to like, what's your plan here? You're walking away. So what's next? What's next to come? And maybe that's not, you know, you don't need a 5-year plan necessarily. You just need like, what am I doing this week? What am I doing this month? Like, sometimes you have to do the slow and steady options before you can really dive in further, Aries. And I do feel like that's what spirit is guiding you toward. So that's what I have for you when it comes to oracle cards. I'm going to pull a bunch more tarot cards in the extended and some love cards to see who this heartbreak energy is and what they want to say, what you want to say, and just some added messages from spirit and your guides. So if you feel guided to go watch that, cool. The link's in the description box. If you don't feel guided, that's fine too. Like, just, you've probably heard everything you need to hear today. And yeah, just thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. And I will see you next time, Aries.